Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome from the heart of Dripping Springs. We are Mallet and Michelle, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallet.
Michelle, how are you?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah. Was that better than last week? You were making fun of me last week because I was too like bleh.
What do you mean? I never make fun of you.
You never make fun of me.
Ever.
Yeah, well, welcome to the show. Got to thank our sponsors, M. Elliott Studio,
Capital Farm Credit,
Nomic Power Solutions,
and Mallet Integrity Team,
and Pigpen Barbecue.
Are you taking me to Pigpen today?
Are they open? It's a holiday. It's a federal holiday. I'm sure they're open.
I'm sure they are.
The only people that get these federal holidays off are the city of Dripping Springs, banks and the mailman. Everybody else works.
Yes, true that.
Our guest today, Scott Friedeck.
Friedeck.
Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Scott Friedeck of Guitar Graphics Guys.
Graphic guitar guys. The graphic guitar guys.
It's okay. Everybody knew who we were talking about. Scott's coming on. Yeah. He's got some great stories, and we'll talk to him about that here in a little bit. I've got a couple cool, small, quick stories. There's a couple of UT swimmers going to the Olympics.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's two guys. Aaron Shackle, who's a current UT student, qualified for the Olympics in the 400 freestyle with the fourth fastest ever 400 freestyle, a time of 3:45, which is so fast.
Super fast. So he's 19. And then Carson Foster, who's 22, who's a UT alum, swam the 400 IM. Do you know what the IM is? Instant message.
Yeah, 400 instant message. The IM is butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle.
Oh.
So it's 100 of each, and he did it in 4 minutes and 7 seconds. So he's going to the Olympics. And there's a bunch of other UT current students and UT alums going to the Olympics and other sports I read about. There's some golfers going to. So that's pretty cool. We have to watch them at the Olympics this year.
That
or
will
next year, yeah.
Yeah. I was just reading something too about Paris and how they're trying to make sure that the Seine River is.
I actually wrote that down. I don't think it's working too. The Seine River is so polluted, and they're going to have a bunch of open water swimming events there. They're trying to get the river cleaned up.
Millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. And apparently that river is disgusting. And I wrote that down, and I was going to make a big deal out of that. And then I just remembered that 2 weeks ago I swam in Town Lake, which probably isn't a whole lot cleaner than the Seine River.
True.
And then another quick story. There was a groundbreaking this week for the new Headwaters Elementary School.
Oh, yes. We were right there.
Yeah. A bunch of people showed up for that. Did you know that's the sixth? That's going to be the sixth elementary school in Dripping Springs.
I'm sure it's going to, well, no, I can't believe that. But
isn't that crazy? When we moved here, there was one. There was one. There's
going to be a spring in the name, right?
Well, that's one of the things. They haven't named it yet. I thought it would be kind of fun if the school district had like a little naming contest. Do you remember in London, there was a tugboat or something, and they opened it up to the public to name it, and they picked like 12 finalists or something, and the one that won was Bodie McBoatface. It's like, we might get a really cool name for that school.
Springy
McSpringface, yeah. So it's going to house 850 students. And also what's happening is Sycamore Elementary is expanding from 850 to 1,200 student capacity. So that's why all that construction is going on there at Sycamore Springs.
I was wondering what was going on over there. You know, we were talking about being off today, the title company. I didn't get my morning Dr. Pepper this morning because I go over to the title company next door and I steal snacks and drinks. And I found out that Dr. Pepper, and I've been drinking Dr. Pepper my whole life.
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper topped Pepsi. It is now the number 2 soda in the country.
Do you even like Pepsi?
Ew, gross.
Yeah,
Who
I
likes
know.
Pepsi?
Yeah, okay.
That's
So that doesn't
disgusting.
surprise me because I think Pepsi is disgusting.
I don't drink sodas very
No, I don't
often,
either.
but if I have a headache but Dr. Pepper is my go-to.
Yeah.
But usually, what's funny is if you go someplace like a restaurant like Flores, they're like, oh, like, I'll have a Coke or a Diet Coke. They're like, oh, we have Pepsi products. Ugh.
Yeah, I'll have iced tea.
Yeah, they have Dr. Pepper sometimes.
yeah?
A lot of times they'll have Dr. Pepper. But yeah, that's kind of crazy,
That's
isn't
funny.
it?
When I was growing up, one of my favorite things to do was to walk down to the 7-Eleven and get a Dr. Pepper in a bottle because it tastes different in the bottle, and a bag of salty peanuts and pour this, drink a little bit of Dr. Pepper and pour the salty peanuts in. Have you ever done that?
Oh
in the
yeah,
glass
well,
bottle?
Coke. We do. You do it with
Do
Coke.
with Coke too. Yeah,
when
that was
we were
one of my
kids.
favorite treats.
But Dr. Pepper's not or wasn't at some point available all over the country, which kind of shocked me. That's why it became number 2. I remember when Tate was in Puerto Rico, he was hard pressed to find jalapenos or Dr. Pepper.
You can't find jalapenos in Puerto Rico?
It's so weird. The spice
There
level.
must be some other kind of something that they use in
I don't
place
know.
of
The
it.
spice level there was very different than it is here. We thought it's Puerto Rican. It's not, Hispanic. It's not Latin.
Yeah.
But
Well, now I know when you're having a bad day, I'll just sneak next door to Patent Title and steal you a Dr. Pepper.
Thank
and you'll
you.
and everything
yeah,
will be better.
here, Michelle. Here's
Yeah, here
here's
you
a
go.
DP.
Don't bite my head off, please. Did you hear there was an event planned in San Antonio downtown at the Alamo Plaza? It was a naked bike ride to protest climate change and the use of fossil fuels.
Oh, that sounds perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how many people showed up?
The 2 naked guys on a bike.
0. Nobody showed up. They set up this event and invited people to come down and apparently there was quite a few spectators there that wanted to take
Wait a
pictures
minute.
of the naked bike riders, but nobody showed up.
So even the promoters that set it up,
Nobody
they're
showed
probably
up.
like, I'll do it if you do
Nobody
it.
showed up. I think the San Antonio Police Department put out a statement saying that it is against the law to be naked in San Antonio, and they would arrest people if they showed up naked. So I don't know what happened. But so the same event, first of all, I question the whole idea of riding a bicycle naked that has anything to do with people using less fossil fuel. These people are just turning into flaming idiots.
Didn't we just watch a video of them spray painting Stonehenge?
Stonehenge. That's like doing spray painting in the Grand Canyon. You're defacing almost a national monument there. Those stones have stood for, I think, thousands of years, at least 1,000 years, but maybe longer.
I like it when they hot glue themselves to the hot asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
That
I like when they glue themselves to the hot asphalt and mad drivers come up and rip their hands off the sidewalk and drag them off the side of the road. These people have lost their freaking minds.
it's a mental illness. The whole art of
totally
protesting now is not a free speech, blah, blah, blah. It is a mental
and
illness.
it's a full-on religion with those folks. And
they're paid.
What's that?
They're paid.
Well, they're paid. But also, everything they do works against them.
Yeah.
Every time I see one of they seem so irrational. You're not making any good arguments when you do that stuff.
No.
When you try and glue yourself to or spray paint the Mona Lisa, everybody that sees that, except for you and your 2 buddies that are there, thinks you're an absolute idiot.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree.
Well, following up on the naked bike ride, the city of Madison also, I got to finish this story. The city of Madison
In
also.
Wisconsin?
In Wisconsin. They had 200 people show up and ride their bikes naked to protest global warming and the use of fossil fuels.
What a bunch of cheeseheads.
Yeah.
Or
So
cheese
there you
butts.
go.
What
So-
a bunch of cheese butts.
Yeah, cheese butts.
Yesterday, I was going to talk about this on the monologue, and I got surprised yesterday when my phone rang at the desk. And I don't know if you saw me, among other things that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I was like, oh, and I answered the phone. I downloaded this app months ago, but I hadn't verified it yet. And it's called Be My Eyes. And what this app is that you literally are someone's eyes, someone that is here or vision impaired. that you help them do some basic things. I think yesterday I had an advanced
Was that one advanced?
I don't know. I was a little intimidated. So basically, it's like a FaceTime call. They don't. Okay, be a jerk. They don't see you. You see them. Because I was like, So they get on the screen and you get directed.
You don't know who they are. They're just the camera opens up on your phone, or it's not your camera. I guess it is the camera.
Yeah, it's the
opens
camera.
up and you see what they're seeing. They're holding their phone
So
up.
yesterday it was she got a brand new washing machine and dryer, and she was trying to put these little raised stickers on the power button and the start button. That's what she was trying to do.
Okay.
But first off, I want to know what idiot salesperson at Home Depot sold them a digital washing machine where like it wasn't like a click. So it was really hard because there was like a big knob in the middle, and the washer and dryer were set up very similar. And I said something about when I did the dryer, I said, don't forget the vent. And she goes, oh, I haven't been able to find that.
Oh, it's inside the door.
It's inside the door. I said, reach down. You'll feel a handle. But I felt so accomplished. And you asked me, you go, well, how much did you get paid for that? Like, no, this is.
I didn't expect you to be paid, but I thought it was maybe like an Uber thing where they pay $1 or $2.
It's total volunteer. But when I signed up, they said it's like a 2-to-1. There's so many more volunteers than there are people. And I guess because it was in the middle of the day, if you don't answer the phone, it rolls over to somebody else. But they told me when I went to the little teeny tiny training class that they had, it could be months before you get a call. And don't worry if you don't get one. It's just because it's on this call rotation. And I was really shocked.
That's very cool. Sometimes technology isn't our best friend, but in the case of that's really cool. That's very helpful. And I'm sure that lifeline for a lot of those folks is invaluable.
Yeah,
changes their life.
I really thought the video that I saw, the training video, was basically somebody saying, hey, I want to pick out an outfit for my daughter. Tell me which one is the red shirt, and then what shorts go with this. So it could be something as easy as that, or it could be, helping them program their washing machine. Those poor people.
Yeah. Well, and they do this, and you said they do the same thing. There's something for
hearing
impaired people. That's pretty cool, Michelle. You have to let us know the next time you get a call how that goes.
I will.
Hey, I got a story. Colorado State University has forecasted that this is going to be a very active hurricane season.
Well, guess what? We have one in the Gulf right now, or a tropical storm.
Yeah, it's tropical storm. Yeah,
Alberto, I think.
Alberto, yeah. The Gulf Coast has a 42% chance of being hit by a major hurricane, which is Cat 3 or better this year. So that's actually double what it normally is. It's 21% chance. From 1880 through 2020, they measured, and the average was 21% chance of a major hurricane hitting landfall.
El Nino right now, right? Is this
El Nino
or La Nina?
La Nina, yeah. And so the surface of the water is warmer, which can cause more tropical storms. So the states that have the best chance of getting hit are Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. They all have a 42% chance of a major tropical storm hitting those states. And then the whole Atlantic coast from Georgia all the way up has a 34% chance.
Wow. Well, we'll see. By the time this comes out, it probably is it's strengthening already.
Yeah. Well, it's funny to me that Colorado State University is one doing the forecasting. You'd think it'd be somebody somebody on the coast somewhere, but they're saying we could have as many as 23 storms, 11 of which would be hurricanes. 5 of those would be major hurricanes. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. They don't know how many of those will hit land, but they're saying the words they're using, it's going to be an extremely active 2024 hurricane season in the Atlantic Basin. So I think our friends at Nomic Power Solutions may be very busy for the next few months, because if we get one of those big storms that hits, you can go a long time without power.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're so inland. But I remember when some of the bigger storms will get the outer bands. A lot of the outer bands.
Yeah,
but
and some high winds, and
fill up those lakes and reservoirs.
That'd be good, but also, doesn't hurt to have 20 gallons of water and a couple days supply of food at home, just stashed somewhere, just in case. You never know. You don't have to fill up. Have to be a prepper and fill everything up, but it's smart to just have a little bit of extra stuff hanging around.
Run to the grocery store.
Yeah, toilet paper and bottled water. More.
Run. So we're going to have Scott on in just a few minutes, and what he does is super, super cool.
So cool.
Doing those graphics on the guitars and how he got his start with George Strait. And this huge order that he had, I'll let him talk about that. But George Strait this past weekend, or now that when it's recording, it's 2 weekends ago, George Strait, Parker McCullum, and Katie Offerman, they performed at Kyle Field at Texas A&M over the weekend, and they set a new record for the largest U.S. ticketed show in history.
That's
it was
crazy,
previously set by Grateful Dead in 1977. A little over 110 people, a little over 110,000 people attended George Strait's concert, and a little over 107,000 people at the New Jersey Raceway Park for Grateful Dead.
That's crazy.
Well, he just told Taylor Swift, "Hold my Lone Star," is what he said. But yeah, it's an amazing. I think that George Strait, you kind of joke around about, when we first started.
Is he still around?
He is. He has the most number one singles of any artist in any genre. He's the only artist to chart a top 10 every year for 30 years. Isn't that amazing? He has the most number one albums, gold albums, platinum albums in the history of country music. He has 60 number one hits. His 31st album will be released in September. And he debuted 2 new songs at Kyle Field, MIA and The Little Things. And his first number one hit was Unwound. This is just a good old boy from Dilley, Texas, via San Marcos, Texas.
I heard he's a great guy, too.
Back in, I think it was 1981, he gave, it was like a handwritten record to KVET in Austin, and they played this little 45, and he just broke the record.
That was it. Wow.
Good. And Parker and Katie, they're also Texas kiddos.
Yeah.
So this was cool.
Do you know what the largest concert ever was? Internationally.
Was it Live Aid?
It was Rod Stewart at the Copacabana Beach in Brazil in December on New Year's Eve, 1994. Just take a wild guess how many people were there.
In Brazil?
In Brazil.
Rod Stewart? I don't know. Maybe did I not have anything else better to do that night?
Well, apparently not, because there was 4.2 million people there.
How do you even
I don't know. It says right here, 1994. Rod Stewart. Number 2 was Jean-Michel Jarre at State University of Moscow, 3.5 million.
I think these numbers are inflated. BS.
Okay, well, GuitarLobby.com says otherwise,
Guitar
Michelle.
Lobby can suck it because King George...
Suck it, Guitar Lobby.
King George is king for a reason. That is our royalty. And his queen,
he's definitely
Norma.
royalty, and he's Texas royalty for sure. Yeah.
For sure. But I'm excited to get Scott on here and hear his stories.
Yeah, we talked to him a little bit. He sounds like a great guy. So we're going to take a little break and get Scott Friedeck in here.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Proudly sponsored by...
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit CapitalFarmCredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Interior design should be an investment in your life and home. Let M. Elliott Studio transform your space, where interior design meets excellence in Central Texas.
Beyond just selecting colors and furnishings, team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, is a trained and licensed interior designer.
With her knowledge of architectural principles, building codes, space planning, and design theory, her team will work with you to understand your needs and lifestyle.
From concept to completion, M. Elliott Studio is committed to enhancing your space with a timeless and classic style.
Ready to redefine your space?
melliottstudio.com, 512-781-0224.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
And we're back with Scott Friedeck of the Graphic Guitar Guys. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you reached out to us. You live in Dripping, right?
I do live in Dripping.
How long have you been here?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. I have lived here since 2011, but I would frequent Dripping Springs because my wife, her family moved out here in 92. So
okay.
We technically purchased property and made this our forever home in 2011.
And how'd you end up here? What brought you here the first time?
So I grew up Southeast Texas, went to Texas State or Southwest Texas State University. I was there right in the middle. Met my wife there, and we lived in Austin for a hot second. And her business was best to move out here.
Okay.
And so we moved out here. We live close to my in-laws, and it's great.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're distracting you
No,
by
you're
playing
good.
with the mic. Yeah.
Your in-laws own Memory Lane?
So they did.
They did?
So
Okay.
Oh, they sold it.
I'll give you the whole little
give us the whole little
wild
scoop.
story. So my father-in-law was from California. My
Okay.
mother-in-law was from Florida. She went to California to visit her cousin, fell in love with a bass player at 17, said, Mom and Dad, I'm not coming back to Florida. Her parents said, heck no, you are. So they went there, lived in Florida, met the family, and were on their way back to California to live forever in the Bay Area. And their car broke down in Austin. And that was the late 70s when the whole cowboys and hippies.
Their car broke down in Austin?
And they never left. And so my father-in-law has always been involved in music, had a studio in Austin.
Okay.
And then in the 90s, they decided to move out here. So he built the Zone Recording Studio, and it has been going strong. And in 2007, they were going to sell the place. The girls had grown out, and my wife said, hey, I have a great idea. Let's make a wedding venue before there were wedding venues everywhere.
Oh, no kidding.
And so she started Memory Lane Event Center. 2011, we bought a piece of property that we turned into La Hacienda Event Center. Her mom started a company called Wild Bunches, floral shop, and we sold the first wedding venue in 18 to what is now Ghost Note Brewing.
Yes.
Awesome place.
Oh, yeah.
Sold Memory Lane in 2021. It's operational and great still. And then she sold Wild Bunches in 22 to a lovely mother-daughter group that is just killing it here in Dripping Springs still. So,
Oh, wow.
so
It is a
we're
small
deep
little world.
in the business, but we're down to the graphic guitar guys, which we love.
Well, so you got a long music background, so you helped with the band. Is that what you said before? You were the tour manager?
I was a tour manager. So my father-in-law had a studio. My wife worked weekends. We didn't have kids.
Yeah.
And so one weekend I was in there, and a guy by the name of Robert Earl Keen was like, hey, you want to go on the road this weekend?
Just little guy.
And so that's kind of how the idea happened is I saw him sign a guitar, and then the next weekend I was out with one of my best friends, Ryan Beaver, and tour managed for him for 5 or 6 years before he moved to Nashville to be a writer. And in West Texas, in his van, this weird idea of putting pictures on guitars to sell to artists happened about 12 years ago.
Did you even know how to do that? Like, you're just like, okay, here's an idea.
So
I got an idea.
my parents had a sign shop in Southeast Texas.
Oh, okay.
So I grew up around like vinyl and printing and understanding that.
Okay.
And so first 3 guitars were Ryan Beaver guitars. And I called my little sister. I was like, hey, can we make a guitar-shaped sticker? And she's like, we can try. And so sent her guitars, made it happen. And the biggest thing is I was on the tour managing side of things. So I understand that a venue takes a percentage of your merch. Mm-hmm. And so I understood that it makes no sense for me to sell a guitar to an artist for $400 for them to make $30.
Yeah.
It's just not worth the risk. So since day one, my goal is to keep my overhead as low as possible. And then that way, the artist, it makes sense for them to buy a guitar and sell it to their fans and make money. And so that has put me in a competitive advantage. There are people that have tried to replicate what I do, but I mean, you can buy a guitar with graphics delivered for $150. And that's with me making a little bit of money, but we do so many, it works out.
So, Scott, I have a quick question. When you put the graphic, or when you put the design on the guitar, do you have to deconstruct the guitar in order to put the graphic on there?
So I had to figure out how to do it all. And
I was going to say, this wasn't like you watched a YouTube video and somebody showed you how to do it.
So there are people that laminate over the top and do. I try to make it simple to keep my overhead low. So we actually, between the sound hole and the bridge, there's a small little slit that you can't see. And so the graphics folds. We don't have to take the strings off and pop the strings and everything.
Okay.
Now, every guitar, I mean, we get containers of guitars at this point, and the guitars can be off by an 1/8 or a 16th. And so we actually print the graphics, and then we go back and we hand trim everything. And I say I have a fantastic staff from production manager to the guys producing. My first employee that I hired 9 years ago still works for me. He's a local musician around here. But there's a staff of about 8 of us that run the whole operation. So it's not just me.
Is this your full-time job?
It is. So when I moved to Dripping Springs, before my guitars were enough to put food on the table, I work for a company called Educated Roofing Systems here.
No.
Yeah, I
way,
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Cameron was best man at my wedding. We've known each other since college. He is my speed dial if there's ever a 2 a.m. emergency.
It's such a small world, I swear.
And so I was, year number 1, I did 15 guitars. Like, it was an idea. I knew a guy that had a festival. Hey, man, you should get some guitars for your sponsors. And then year number 2 was 115 guitars. And at one point, I did 100 guitars in a month. And this is still like in my garage dining room table work. And I was like, well, the bank account looks good this month. And if I can consistently do 100 guitars a month, I talked to my wife and said, 3 months, 4 months, if I can do 100 guitars a month, can I quit roofing?
Please.
I love Cameron, but
that's hard work.
Roofing is not the best job in Texas. And so did that. And so it has been my full-time job for about a decade now.
Wow.
And hiring my first employee, it was right after we had our first child. And I was like, I'll just put my kid in the playpen and I can get work done. And then I quickly realized that is not how father and children, how that works. And so, it's owning your own business is there's always curves and hitches and figuring things out.
Unexpected fires to put out. Yeah, things that happen.
But it's a lot of fun. We were talking about being it's a small world. So I'm gonna give you a little, take your world from here, and I'm gonna go like this. Okay. So last week, I had a friend of mine call me. I have a good knack for when I go on vacation. We meet the craziest people, and we met this guy, Chris Ritchie, in Hawaii. My husband and I have since gone to Boston, celebrated his birthday. We keep up with him. I haven't seen him in person in maybe about a year or so. He called me last week and he said, "Hey, I ran into some people that are from Texas." And I said, "Really?" Jay Odom and Jessica Yeager.
In Cozumel, Mexico.
I
know this where the story's going.
And he told me, he goes, they know a guy. His name is Scott. And I go, wait. what is his name? And I said, he's actually going to be on our podcast next week. He goes, no way. And I was like, yes. So they told you this story. They also told me I had to mention their names on the podcast.
Well, that deservingly so. So I have known them. They're from my childhood hometown. Jay's grandparents lived across the street from me growing up. We played basketball together. Jessica and I worked together in high school at a small Mexican food restaurant. And it's funny. So longtime friends, if they ever need anything, hey, y'all want to be on Robert O'Keen's guest list? Got you covered. And one time they were at a festival and they ran into Wade Bowen's crew. And I was like, hey, tell them you're my Southeast Regional Sales Director, and see if that gets you any extra access or anything like that. So Jay and Jessica, I wish we were we traveled
you were
more
travel
with them.
buddies, yeah.
Their kids are up and ours are little. So one day, but it's a great story. They go to that same resort probably 2 or 3 times a year in Cozumel. My wife and I got married in Cozumel, so Cozumel's a special spot.
I just thought it was funny. It's like such a small little...
someone you knew in Hawaii and someone I knew from my hometown or in Cozumel.
One of the most interesting things about that story for me is that Michelle goes to Hawaii and meets some random stranger and then becomes such good friends with them that they go stay with them in Boston. And then it's like, I never do that on vacation. I'm kind of keeping it myself.
You don't like people.
You're reading a book on the beach.
Yeah, that's right. I'm the one that goes away to get away. I don't want to meet anybody. I don't want to have any more connections. But,
I'm fun.
Yeah. Scott, on the guitars, going back to the guitars, do you come up with the designs or does somebody from whoever ordered the guitars send you the design?
It depends on the project.
Okay.
So a lot of the artists that we deal with, they have a tour coming up. And all their tour posters and everything are going to match and look the same. And so that's called a tour ad mat. So we can use that tour ad mat. Sometimes they'll have a album coming out and they want to do pre-sales of their album with the album artwork. And so they'll do the album artwork, or sometimes they have no clue, or they have pieces of stuff, but they don't know what's going to look best.
Okay.
So my production manager, Michael, has a degree in design, but also have, there's a young lady I know, she has done design for me for close to a decade it's outside of my realm.
Okay.
She lives in Missouri. We've never met face to face. We've
funny?
talked on the phone, but I met her through Josh Abbott's camp.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And so if you email art at the Graphic Guitar Guys, it's going to Amanda in Missouri. And she handles art and then sends Michael, my production manager, the final art. As business has grown, it was originally all me. And I had a background in the sign stuff, but really wasn't good at design, just kind of fake it till I make it.
It takes a special knack, yeah.
It does. And so as we've grown, it's allowed me to have a production manager that's handling emails and calls and getting the team lined up with everything, or a design girl that
design girl. She sounds like a superhero.
To me she is
design girl.
She is amazing.
That's her superhero name.
And so my wife, since getting out of the wedding business, is our CFO. She makes sure all the invoices go out and the money comes in. And so it has blown my mind what the idea of putting a sticker on a guitar has turned into, and I feel so blessed.
So I think it's great what you're doing, but how come nobody else has been able to duplicate what you've done? You've had huge success with this. What separates you from the competitors?
I've been told my quality, my price, and my turn time.
Okay.
And so when we produce guitars, I like to say 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Typically it's the week, if not the day of. Y'all have our website up on your screen. The second picture on our Instagram page right there, that is Luke Combs put out an amazing album on Friday.
Yes.
A whole album of dad, son.
Oh, geez.
It's a great...
Don't listen to it by yourself if you're a dad without, listen to it by yourself. And so I told my team, I said, hey, I'm going to be in Nashville this week. I want you to produce this guitar. I'm going to go drop it off and give it to him as a gift because he's a great customer. Like he was at the Jack and McConaughey thing a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And we got a minute to talk and catch up, and such a big superstar, such a humble, down-to-earth guy. And as a dad, I mean, he's a new dad. I think his youngest is 3 years old.
I think his wife is pregnant again too, right? Or did they just have a baby?
I think that's the little one in his picture in the arms there.
Yep.
And so I can just relate, and I know where he is in his life. He's not sleeping. The first song is Front Door Famous, and it talks about coming home and Dad, you're home.
Wow.
I'm like, that's the first song.
Yeah.
So I feel I forget what the question where we started on this.
The competitors.
Competitors. Sorry. I digress.
That's okay.
Because I've been on the road, because I know that they can't, like there are people that they sell their guitars for double what I sell. And they're selling to Pepsi-Cola, and Pepsi-Cola's putting them in grocery stores or whatever else. I love being around music. And I want to make sure. Cody Johnson used to order one guitar at a time from me. Not anymore.
I love that man.
And
I love that man so much.
He's a good dude. And so that is my goal, is the guy in a van and trailer that's trying to make an extra $50 that night to be able to make an extra $100 the next night to be playing in the biggest arena. Like that is my goal.
Trying to offer them value that they can't get anywhere else. That's what you're trying to do.
And so I'd love to live in a big mansion and have a Lamborghini, but that's not my goal. My goal is to be around music, to help artists grow
and raise your kids
and raise my kids in a great town.
I can really respect the hustle that you have and the drive. I was reading that George Strait kind of gave you your big break, and you were just at his concert, the biggest concert that just happened this weekend in Kyle Field. And I read a little story, and I thought it was super cool that they had ordered something about Boy Scouts. I'm going to let you tell the story.
Tell the story.
So I've been this close to George Strait 5 times. Never said a word to him. And
because you were starstruck?
No, not necessarily. I've been around big stars. Yeah. Reba McEntire, I think, is the only time I've ever been starstruck. I'll get to that. Wow. Yeah. But I was in Nicaragua with my wife. We were on vacation before kids, and my phone rings, and it's a 615 number. 615 is Nashville area code. I said, hey, babe, I need to answer this phone. So I get a phone call, and it's, hey, we're with George Strait's camp, and he has a show in Arlington called the Cowboy Rides Away Show. Don't know if you know about it, but we have 432 guitars that are stuck in customs, and we need those guitars in Arlington in like 3 weeks. We were told you were the guy. And I was like, yep, I'm the guy. I'll get it handled.
You hang up the phone, you're like,
I hung up the phone. My biggest order before that was 36 for Gary Allen.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
and
Gary
so
Allen.
I hang up the phone, and I'm like, all right, how do I pay for 400 guitars and do the whole thing? And so I grew up in Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I knew that Scouts are reliable. So I called the local Scoutmaster and said, hey, I need 3 of your best Eagle Scouts. I'd like to employ them for 2 weeks, and I would like to, figure this out. So we did. Actually, where Ghost Note Brewing is now is where those 430-something guitars were produced.
Wow.
We mentioned Ryan Beaver. I used Ryan Beaver's van and trailer to go underneath Arlington Stadium to deliver the guitars.
Jeez.
And it's called Cowboy Stadium, by the way.
Yes, I'm sorry. I knew that.
Scott.
I knew that. And it's AT&T Stadium.
No, it's Cowboy Stadium. It's Jerry's World.
And so deliver the guitars. Prior to that, I'd never taken credit card because small business, keep my margins low, credit card fees. And they said, hey, can we pay with credit cards? I said, sure. So there were 12 going to one and 4 going to another. And I get a phone call about a week after that. It says, hey, I got a charge on my credit card. And I was like, yes, sir. What's the total? And it gives me the total. I was like, That's for 12 guitars. We shipped 12 guitars to Merle Haggard. I'm talking to Merle Haggard. Grouchy old man on the phone. Like,
No way.
it was not, but it was Frank Mole. I was like, Frank Mole's his alter ego that he uses at hotels. Frank Mole's his tour manager. We've become good friends.
Yeah.
But Merle Haggard's people, we started doing guitars for Reba Brooks and Dunn. Like, it just, that was when people were like, oh, like, this is legit.
They paid attention
George
to you.
Strait did it.
Yeah.
And so George Strait's merch company is in Nashville, Richards and Southern. They have been amazing for me, worked with me for years. We did guitars for George for about a decade. Currently, we aren't doing any. He just said, hey, we've done a lot of guitars that I've autographed, and I want to make those fans have a special guitar.
Yeah.
Because it's more collectible if there's
Yes.
not a million of them out there.
So, but George is, I mean, who doesn't want to go see the King?
No kidding.
Anytime.
And, Parker's a great customer.
Love Parker too. Yeah. Oh, look at that's the one you did, right?
So
okay, that's amazing.
This designer, Zach, I actually talked to on the way here. He made this poster. I thought it was great. And so I reached out through Katie Offerman and said, hey, is there any way I can make a small run of these? I'm not going to sell any of them. Just want to give them as gifts. So I'm sending one to George, one to Bubba, his son, because he went to school there. One to Parker. Parker's a customer through Richards and Southern.
Mm-hmm.
Katie's a good friend. And then the producer is Louis Messina Group. Really big promoter for Kenny Chesney, Taylor Swift, everybody. And then I'm going to send one to Zach. And so there's only 6 of those guitars made, and none of them are signed. It's just kind of a gift and a thank you for, he's been doing this for 42 years.
There's
George
a reason.
Strait
There's
has?
a reason why he's the king, and he's not dead, Steve.
Yeah. Way back when we first started the show, she did a story on George Strait, and I said, didn't he die?
I listened to that podcast.
Sorry. I'm going to get you back off the mic
sorry.
a little bit. No, you're right, Scott.
Bless America.
Yeah.
Bless America.
So, and almost all the ones you do for the artists, you're shipping them to them, and they're selling them like with their T-shirts and stuff, or they all use them for all kinds of different things?
For a majority, they're selling them at concerts, or pre-sales for albums. So, like right now, Hootie and the Blowfish is on tour with Collective Soul. And Collective Soul, it's their 30th year, so we did 30 guitars that were serialized that they just put on their website for their fans. 30 guitars, once they're gone, they're gone. Hootie and the Blowfish has done a pre-sale. So if you buy a VIP package, then you get an autographed Hootie and the Blowfish guitar.
Oh, wow.
I didn't realize Darius Rucker's back on.
Yeah,
he's
the whole
back on
band.
tour. Really?
So all the guys signed the guitars.
That's pretty cool.
They've pre-sold before the shows even started, somewhere between 700 and 900 guitars right now.
Holy cow.
I played the tambourine for Collective Soul in Vegas. True story. True story.
Did you meet them in Hawaii?
No, I met them. I met them in a hot tub with Mike Reno of Loverboy.
I feel like we should go to Grolix and have drinks after this and get more stories.
Tell the Mike Reno story, because you didn't believe it was him.
Okay, so I met Mike Reno. Okay, no, we're in a hot tub, and it's in the middle of the day, and we're at Hard Rock. And this guy comes in the hot tub, and he starts talking to my husband, and he's kind of a large guy, and they're talking real estate or whatever. And this music's playing over the speakers, and he goes, or I'm just like singing to all the music. And he said, hey, you want to get up on stage with me tomorrow night and sing with me? And I go, like karaoke? And he goes, no, like I'm Mike Reno, the lead singer of Loverboy. Now, granted, in Vegas, you get those ridiculous, stupid, really sweet,
drinks.
strong drinks.
Yeah.
And I go, you look like you ate Mike Reno.
Ooh, that's so straight to his heart.
And he looks over at my husband, and my husband's like, I don't know. It was like, and he's like, would you like to get up on stage? And I did. It was Night Ranger, Collective Soul. It was Loverboy, Rick Springfield. And they're become great friends.
So she insulted him, and he still invited her on stage. Jeez.
I love Mike. He's a good guy.
Scott, what's the most challenging thing about doing this for your business?
Man, it has changed over time.
Yeah.
So originally it was figuring it out. Then it was figuring out the time to do it all by myself. How to have employees.
Yeah.
How to manage employees. I'm not the best manager, but I feel like I'm a great employer. And, there were times where I would wake up at 6 a.m. or there were times I wake up at 4 a.m., be home, go back home to get the kids to school. Once school's over, be home, cook dinner, go back. So hiring the right people. And then since 2020, the biggest thing for me has been logistics and getting quantities. So prior to 2020, I would keep 150 guitars in stock and
blanks. Yeah.
And so if I got hey, we need these Friday, no problem, we get you done. And then 2020 happened, and they're like, oh, no. We sold out of guitars because everybody's at home and they're buying guitars and trying to figure out.
The guitar, that's right.
And so now I forecast a year out. And so what does that mean? Well, that means I have 4,000 guitars right now that I have to pay for and have a place to store. And so there's always challenges. My logistical challenge of, all right, so this week we're probably going to get orders from Luke Combs, Lainey Wilson, Morgan Wallen, Tim McGraw. Wow. They all need 50 plus guitars by the end of the week wherever they're playing. And so we need to make sure that we're getting those done ahead of time, because if we get 50 of each of those on a Monday, they need to ship by Tuesday, we can't make the timeline. Right. And so it's kind of sort of that with the normals 12 or 5 or Silverado's up on the screen. They ordered 3 this past week. Okay. And so that's where my business started, but I've been able to get into some of those big arena shows where they are ordering 50 a week.
That's the person, Warren. He's going tomorrow to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Warren Zider cut his very first song, number 1 song as an artist and as a writer. He wrote a song called Pretty Little Poison with my buddy Ryan. And so I'm going to be in Nashville tomorrow to celebrate that big number 1 for them.
I don't know if you can tell, but Steve's a lot rock and roll, and I'm a lot
Oh, that
country.
Is exactly right. Yes, you are.
I'm a lot of country, and he doesn't. I mean, I live and breathe country music. I love country music. But I've introduced you. I play DJ in the office.
I know who most of the main players are. I don't the people that are like up and coming and stuff. I don't keep track of that.
I like a lot of Texas country music. I love William Beckham. He's a great kid. I love listening to him.
Singing he's like, to me, the country Michael Bublé.
Yes.
But he grew up on the Texas-Mexico border, so speaks fluent Spanish. Sings.
Yeah. Freddie Fender. He can sing a Freddie Fender song. Yeah. He's a great guy.
He's, I think, mid to late 20s, but looks like he's about 18 and a half.
Oh, geez.
Or 12.
He's a good dude. So.
Yeah. Is your business now to the point where, I'm sure in the beginning you had to go do a lot of schmoozing and trying to get in front of people. Is your business now to the point where your phone rings and you're not having to promote as much as you used to?
We are very, very fortunate because we've been on good graces with people. We get phone calls and emails daily. Yeah. Hey, we need these, or somebody told us about you. Yeah. But the business is always changing. I mean, 3 years ago, I wouldn't be going to Nashville to talk to Lainey Wilson's people. Right. And she won Entertainer of the Year and just opened up a new bar. And it's the biggest thing since sliced bread. And a great
human, yeah.
Do you think she'll sell your guitars in her bar?
She has one hanging there. Okay. She just recently started selling them, and I found out 100% of the proceeds from her guitar sales are going to her nonprofit.
Oh, that's cool.
And so there's stories like that's part of, I feel like good Lord's put me where I am to do things to be helpful. And this is her being helpful, but I'm kind of facilitating that in a way. Yeah. There have been times.
I saw the Bailey Zimmerman. Was it Bailey? Yeah, where he gives the guitars out to.
He doesn't sell them. He looks for the biggest fan in the front row every night and walks up and just gives them an autographed guitar. Way. And the pictures of people's reaction, it's just it makes you want to tear. It makes your heart almost explode.
That makes lifelong fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people.
I've seen
will.
Zach Bryan do that. I've seen Morgan do that a couple of times, I think. And, like Taylor Swift at the end of her concert, you don't know this, but at the end of her concert, there's always a hat that she gives to somebody. They come down to the end.
Really?
And there's like a
Yeah,
big
because you
deal.
don't want to throw that out in the audience. That would create
Yeah, right? For sure.
So I have a Taylor story for you.
Okay.
So January 2020, I'm going to drop off a guitar to Universal Music Group record label for Dierks Bentley. Trying to get in the door there. I'm going to bring him a sample guitar. And usually this building, you have to park on like the 8th floor of the parking garage. And that day I found one on the 3rd floor. Gentleman holds the door for me. I'm holding a guitar. He goes, "You play guitar?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "You have a guitar. There's a record label here. Let me hear the story."
Yeah.
So we talked for like 30 minutes and he goes, "Hey, can I get your card?" I was like, "Sure." He goes, "My daughter's a musician. I think she could sell some guitars. My name's Scott Swift." And like, we've been talking, he had not let on. He's holding his mail. I look at his mail. I was like, he is not lying. That is okay.
Wow.
And after that, we started to talk about who his daughter was.
Yeah.
And he told me stories like, my daughter has 2 dishwashers because she likes to cook, but she does the dishes while she's cooking and entertaining for people. And all these amazing stories and I left that. COVID happened, business.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out. So I knew I could find his business name. I knew what building his business was in. So I called his business. "Hey, I have a package. I have the address. I didn't get the suite number." Send a handwritten thank you for your conversation as a dad of this amazing superstar. The dad conversation got me. And I see your birthday's later this month. I pulled graphics offline. Here's a guitar. Don't expect anything from it, but here's a sample of our work. Hang it, give it away, whatever. Thank you for our conversation. And the next week I get a phone call. "Hey, I'm with 13 Management. We need to order some guitars for Taylor Swift."
Wow.
Taylor, there are artists that sell them for a lot of money. Taylor sold them for $395 because she wanted her fans to be able to afford them.
Wow.
They went, I don't know if you know the light up kind of Nerf glow sticks.
Yeah.
Her dad told me the story that they were looking for an item that they could sell at a show that a fan that spent all their money on tickets and getting there could still walk away with the merch item. And they bought those for 87 cents and sold them for $5.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, "We sell tens of thousands of them a night, but it's so every fan can take something home." And that just, I don't know if you've watched the Taylor Swift documentary, like, never met her. I met her dad one time in the elevator, but that's the type of music people.
It's cool when you see any kind of celebrity that appreciates the fans, because in sports or music or acting or anything, without the fans, those people are nothing.
Absolutely.
And the ones that really get that, it's I think more people are doing it, but it's pretty special. It makes that entertainer even more of a unique thing, I think.
I have a Taylor story too, but I have a lot of Taylor stories because I met Taylor when she was like 14, 15 years old and at her first Nashville event.
Opening for Jack Ingram or something like that.
My favorite Taylor story is she was opening for, who was she opening for? Was it Dierks? I can't remember. Here in Austin. It was like one of her big shows. Gosh, I totally escaped. But we were friends, and because I was in the radio business, and we took her guitar player and everybody two-stepping at the Continental Club. Todd Lombardi was his name. He's a guitar player. He was a studio guitar player. And Taylor, they wouldn't let Taylor in
because she was too young.
Because she was too young. She was with us, and they wouldn't let her into the Continental Club.
Well, and that was the conversation with her dad that I just. Being a father, I could not imagine, like, your daughter's on private jets around the world, being introduced to people who may not have the best intentions, whether it's career-wise.
No kidding.
Like, he was talking about buying armored vehicles and his daughter being in towns before people, like, there's an award show and we have to get her there 4 days ahead of time because people are going to be looking for her the day before. And a whole other level that I just was like, that is a dad level that is amazing.
They're still just people, they have the same emotions we all have. At the end of the day, she still loves her dad, and he loves her. It's just, but it's weird how they live a different life, but they're still just people.
Yeah. I just remember, she was just a sweet kid.
Was
and
she the one that you said you were working at the radio station and
her mom?
Was it the story was something like the artist came in and you could tell she was really tired and you approached her and said, "Is there anything I can do for you?" And she said something like, "I just need to go get some new underwear." And,
That was Kelly Pickler.
okay.
Yeah.
And you took her to Target
Ross.
or something.
Ross.
Or, yeah, because, and she was just like, they were just running her ragged.
Yeah, she was like, "I haven't done laundry. I just took, as a mom, I was like, hey, can I do something for you?" I mean, she was just being handled. She's like, "I just need some new underwear. Can you take me to Ross? We can just go to Ross."
That's a good impression. She's a real Southern girl.
So sweet.
Well,
Such a sweet kid. There's a lot of, what I learned about being in the radio business was that a lot of these artists, when they sign, how much in debt they go, and they are basically owned by their labels, and where they get their money from is from the merch, their merch tables, and they're running their own merch stuff.
That's one benefit to having my background, being on the road, understanding the venue. That has, to me, been a huge competitive advantage in my very tight niche. And I understand that artists need to make money, and a lot of the merch companies they look at the price per head. So if there's a show that's 100 people there or 10,000 people there, are they selling $4 price per head average?
Oh, okay.
And so our guitars really can jack that number up real fast.
Yeah.
And the other benefit is it's a win for everyone. So I make some money. The artists make good money. The fans just went the amazing concert that they will never forget. They have something to take home and to always remember and look back. And so there's no downside to my business, which is an easy selling point, which is great.
Yeah.
And you're right. The labels, especially in the world streaming services, less radio, more streaming, it's taken a lot of money out of artists and songwriters' pockets. I mean, I was having a conversation with my buddy Beaver the other day, and he's worried about the state of the business and being viable to continue to do things. But at the same side, ticket prices have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And there's the music industry, there's so much complex stuff. And
so the artists generally, because you just said ticket prices, man, it's like $350 to go see some of these pretty, not even like the top artists, but they don't generally make that. Oh, I didn't put my phone on silent. Dang it. But generally the artists aren't making money from ticket sales?
they do.
Okay.
But a lot of the label stuff, so artist A signs a big record label deal with label.
Right.
Label says, you know what? We're going to make an album for you. We're going to spend a whole lot of money promoting
$1 million.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you that money, or we'll pay that, but you're going to be in debt to us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to recoup all of that money first.
Right.
And then because we loaned it to you, we're going to give you a percentage after we recoup our money. And depending on how, like, I don't know if you watch a Jelly Roll documentary, a lot of vulgar language there, but he said, I busted my butt and got big enough to when I showed up to the table, I could make my own demands. And I didn't have to take a lump sum up front. Or I said, you aren't taking all your money and then splitting. We're going to split from day one.
Right.
And so Ray Wiley Hubbard, his wife, is a heck of a negotiator. She did that they signed a big machine, same as Taylor Swift's label, as Ray Wiley Hubbard's label. And Judy said, we don't need a big check up front. We just want help promoting the album and getting it out.
Right.
But a kid that's on TikTok that, just is starting to come up, they see big dollar signs. I mean, Parker McCollum, I saw somebody was giving heck about how his music's changed, and he went to Nashville, and he basically went at people and said, look, I gave up $1 million cash from my label to have full control. This is me choosing the songs I want out there, and I'm grown as a person.
Yeah.
And so the music business is so complex. There's so many different levels to it. It is what makes me want to go to check out those independent artists.
That's right. The singer-songwriter. That's why even now when they're looking at signing somebody, these record labels are saying, okay, well, let's see across your platforms how many followers you have, how many streams. I mean, you already have to be almost an established social media person here for people even to look at you. And I think that's why the whole TikTok sensation happened, is where
the labels have to work less.
Yeah.
That's the thing that makes me so mad is Katie Offerman is a hell of a musician from New Braunfels, Texas, plays multiple instruments. She got signed, and the label's doing stuff with her and doing great, but then they can get distracted by this kid over here that, they get 2 million TikTok views. Wow. So all we got to do is get them to produce content, and we already are in front of 2 million people. We don't have to spend a dime. And so it's made it really, really hard for some. I mean, there are people like Zach Bryan that have been a breakout star, but he became internet famous, but he done independent stuff for a lot.
Zach Bryan, he was in the Navy.
Yeah.
And he would,
and he was on TikTok?
He would record videos of him doing his own songs. He's very talented, a very talented songwriter. Huh. And he would produce these videos, and they would just kind of go viral. You know, like Parker, for instance. Parker, his song, It's Been a Hell of a Year, just so happened to coincide with COVID. And that song kept going viral and going viral. And Parker's a great kid. He's a he's a Texas boy. He's from Conroe. Conroe, yeah. He's a good kid. But
Zach was in the military, would write songs kind of therapeutically, and would put it out there so his friends and family could see, hey, this is what I'm doing. And he got a phone call. I listened to a podcast that he spoke about. He got a phone call from his officer and says, hey, bud, we're discharging you. He was like, what did I do? Second person ever in the military to be discharged for being so famous. Elvis was the other one.
Really?
And essentially gets discharged, hops on a tour bus, and his first gig is in front of 4,000 people, sold out. And like he had no idea that he just put it on there and then didn't look, and had blown up. And now this year he's playing 82 stadium shows. And it's crazy.
Yeah. I think people like that kind of story better than they like the one where, somebody goes to Nashville and they put the makeup and write the songs and, dress him or her the way they want. And it's like this produced person.
Well, look,
that's just somebody that loves music.
Look what's going on with Ty. Ty Myers.
Yeah, Ty Myers here in Dripping.
And he's, we've had
Ty. Signed on to Blake Shelton's management company.
Yeah. And he's Reba's ex. And he's a hard-working kid, and it's a family business.
Yeah.
His dad was in music.
Yeah, he comes, and his uncle. They all kind of come from that family world. But his sister Jocelyn is hustling. She's doing some marketing and PR for him, and you gotta respect that hustle. And we were talking about that with you and how you first started out. It is. It's the business of doing business.
It is. I mean, I have been in Nashville bars. I drink. I don't drink a ton. I don't drink like I drank in college. And I go to Nashville.
I don't drink.
And I don't believe that from our off
Don't believe that, Scott.
But I go to Nashville to go to bars I've run into Darius Rucker. I've seen John Michael Montgomery sing his own songs with the house band at 1:45 in the morning, having a good time. I've run into Tim McGraw at a shoe store and Kenny Chesney at a barbecue joint. Wow. And so I go to Nashville regularly because that's where I can sell hundreds.
So tell me, though, you see Darius Rucker at a bar.
That's happened. Red Door.
Do you approach him?
I did.
And so
I do.
There's got to be a delicate balance between approaching them and getting to know him a little bit and having him look around 30 seconds into the conversation for the bouncer to get him off you, right?
It's that conversation was encouraged by Libations of the Evening.
Libations,
yes.
I have spoken with Garth's manager, similar circumstance. to be quite honest, 90% of, more than 90, most of the artists I work with, I've never met before in my life.
Yeah.
I have been on Gary Allen's bus quite a bit because he was his merch guy, Timmy, is been a dear friend for years and years and years.
His music is just raw.
Timeless.
And it is. Oh,
and
love Gary Allen.
Like I said, I've been around George, but never in a hang environment. And most of the guys that I'm hang comfortable with are the Texas guys, Randy and Wade and Kevin. And so I run into people like Reba McEntire at a wedding one time, and she's in a photo booth, and they had security watching so people don't pull phones out because Blake Shelton's in the wedding and that type of thing. And I wanted to go up to her and be like, will you take a picture in the photo booth with me so I can email it to my mom? Because that was my first album and my first concert.
Well, just hanging out at Founders last time, I guess 2 years at Founders, I hung out with Kevin until 2 a.m.
Surprise.
Drinking and with Scott Daves on his mule.
Kevin is...
His donkey is what you
His
call
donkey,
it.
his donkey.
Kevin and Randy Rogers, Kevin Fowler and Randy Rogers, in my opinion, are two of the smartest business guys that are in the music industry. They've done so much outside of music. From Kevin's a real estate dude, and we talk all the time. He's like, "What's the cap rate?" You know, they're dialed into their numbers. I think they've had to learn that from the music business as well, because it's looping back around. It's a hard business, and they've been able to do a lot of stuff, and I didn't turn mine off.
There's a lot of people that start to break in, and then you never hear from them again.
Yep.
It's hard. Well, like a lot of businesses, sometimes it's easy to get your foot in the door. It's really hard to keep going.
And the
after that.
consistency. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a couple of rapid fire questions.
Okay, let's do this.
That I would like to. I got to put on my cheaters because
she's blind.
I'm blind. Okay.
Either that or she's still drunk.
Oh, no, well, I'm not going to answer that question. Okay. Ever turned down a job?
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't believe I have.
Okay. How about your favorite guitar graphic?
Ooh, there have been so many. The first one that pops into mind, and I'll just say this one: we did a Sleep at the Wheel anniversary one that was really cool.
Weirdest or most unique job you've ever had to do?
I got a phone call one time. Parents of a young girl really wanted to give her a guitar. She loved space, so they wanted galaxy background, and loved her cat.
Oh,
so
a space cat.
It was galaxy with her cat floating through space and the daughter's name on the guitar.
Did your graphic designer in Missouri or whatever it was, did she do that? Did she do the design on that?
I think I might have actually. It was very rudimentary graphics. We'll just say that.
And she loves it.
And she loves
it.
Gibson or Fender?
Oh, man. I have to say Gibson, but there's a caveat to that. Gibson ships their guitars in triangle boxes. Fender ships them in rectangle boxes. I can fit 6 triangle boxes in one big box. I cannot fit 6 rectangle boxes. So shipping is substantially more to ship Fenders. So that's the reason why Gibson
It's
designed
a shipping. Okay, if you could design a guitar for any musician, dead or alive, who would it be?
Willie Nelson.
Oh, well.
Really?
Yes. So
have you not done? I thought I saw Willie in one of the pictures. You've not done one for him?
So I've done stuff for Farm Aid quite a bit.
Okay.
I've been 6 plates down the table from Willie Nelson at his ranch. We've never done one. Actually, Bravado is his merch company that he works with. I'm going to Nashville this week. I've talked to his tour manager. It's hard to get in the door with some of these folks, and it's getting to the right person on the right day about the right time. I did make a replica trigger and brought it to the Willie Robert Earl show at Whitewater a month back, and Robert said he wanted one, Robert Earl Keene. Lloyd Maines, I showed it to him in the studio at the Zone Recording Studio that morning. Lloyd said he wanted one. Waylon Payne, whose dad was in the band, said he wanted one. Wow. And actually the Country Music Hall of Fame had a representative, and they're like, I think we could sell these to the Hall of Fame. So I'm trying to get to the right person with Willie's camp. I've emailed his manager.
Well, Willie's going to be on the podcast next week.
Fantastic,
So,
fantastic. Well, I'll leave this trigger replica.
Okay.
Yeah.
See if you can land that. I got.
Please do.
I'll buy you a steak dinner
Okay,
or a beer.
Okay, or a beer. What is your go-to playlist?
Oh man, I just try to find new music. So
Is it all country?
Majority of it. I grew up Southeast Texas. Listened to.
You keep saying where exactly? What, like pinpoint?
Beaumont.
Oh,
Area?
my best. Port Arthur, Port Neches.
Viter.
Oh, Viter. Oh, well, that's kind of famous for something else, but we won't go into that. Yes, I know that area very well.
I love my roots. I love where I came from. Hometown of Clay Walker, Tracy Byrd, George Jones was there.
Janis Joplin, Port Arthur. Yeah.
Mark Chestnut, Beaumont. So there's a lot of music there. That's where I grew up, and so country was always. I mean,
so you got a little coon ass in you too.
I do.
Huh? Okay.
We eat boudin at lunch.
There you go.
And Alabama's roll-on cassette was the soundtrack to our childhood vacations. My dad was cheap, and that was the one cassette he bought, so we listened to that thing until it didn't work anymore. But I'm always trying to find new music. The young kid out there today is going to be selling a lot more down the road. But I also just lately right now, and this is totally vain, but I keep mentioning my buddy Ryan Beaver.
Yeah.
He writes songs for a living. He writes probably 5 to 10 songs a week.
Oh, wow.
And so he's my friend. He lives in another state. We don't get to talk all the time. I don't have access. I'm not his publisher. His publisher owns the songs.
Yeah.
So I typed in Spotify, songs written by Ryan Beaver, and I've been listening to that. And there's a whole bunch of songs that I've heard the demos, but like there's a song by Ian Munsick called River Run that he wrote that I had no idea. I started listening to that the other day. I was at Schlitterbahn this past week with the kids, and that song's playing. I'm like, Ryan Beaver's song playing at Schlitterbahn. Like, this is pretty cool. So I'm always searching for new music. Ty Myers, local kid.
Oh.
I know about him because I'm searching for new music always. And, I have a great relationship with the folks over at Mercer Dance Hall. We talk about music all the time.
I think
he's
Ty's
like,
the new Parker. I truly believe that.
Good voice, local kid, keeps his head on straight, good looking, checks all the boxes.
Yeah, he does. Okay. We had him on the podcast.
I did. I missed that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a good one too.
I have one last question. Do you ever hide a tiny Easter egg in any of your graphics?
No.
You ever hide anything in
like a legitimate Easter egg?
No, like like your logo or like your signature or something. Like, and right now we have Lainey Wilson's up. Like, you should hide something, like some embossed or something in there that it's yours.
Sometimes they'll order a certificate of authenticity.
Okay.
And so our certificates say this says the Graphic Guitar Guys is certifying that Lainey Wilson signed this guitar. I used to put a sticker on the back of the headstock, but in my business, there's a weird balance. So I sell to an artist if they call, I sell to a label if they call, I sell to a merch company if they call. And so there are times that I sell to a merch company. That merch company is then small percentage up selling to the artist. And so if I put my name on it and it shows up and merch company sold it to them, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
So it's a delicate balance. I've learned that through the years.
Well, maybe you should create like prints, like a symbol.
Well, I was actually going to say maybe you just have like a little tiny icon somewhere on there that almost kind of blends in, but somebody that's a real aficionado would know it's one of yours.
Well, like your G guitar. See, you could do embossed.
Where I'm actually talking about going overseas. So a lot of even the Epiphone guitars I get, they're coming from overseas. And so supply chain I've mentioned has continued to get harder and harder. I was supposed to get
Is it still getting harder?
Yes.
Is it really? Wow.
So labor costs in China have gone way up. And I've heard, not to get too political talks, that certain taxes could be imposed on Chinese products. So that's real scary for me and my business.
Tariffs. Yeah.
And so I'm planning on going to Vietnam and China later this year and talking to some of the factories, because Gibson said, hey, if you forecast a year out, we got you covered. So I forecast a year out. Well, my February container was supposed to be here in February, and it showed up 3 weeks ago.
Ooh, wow.
And when it got delayed, I was like, I was supposed to have another one show up then. So go ahead. Like my warehouse, I was on, you pulled a picture, my warehouse was empty.
I saw that.
Yeah, we saw that.
3 or 4 weeks ago. It is completely full now.
Yeah.
And so if you can scroll one over, within that photo, that is before.
Oh, here we
and
go.
then that is after.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And so I've had to spend a whole lot of money and buy guitars and sit on those guitars.
Invest, Scott. You've had to invest. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't have the blanks, you can't sell them.
Right. And so that was a scary moment for me. You know,
I
was told that guitars are coming, but each of those pallets holds about 50 guitars. So I mentioned,
we have orders you have to fulfill.
Yeah. And I mentioned Luke Combs and everybody's on tour. Well, that's about a week and a half's worth of guitars that were left in there. Yeah. And so, you know, tomorrow I could get a phone call from Zach Bryan's camp that says, hey, we want to order guitars. And he's going to do 2 containers worth of guitars this year if he calls me. Wow. And so if I haven't ordered those.
How many guitars in a container?
12 to 1,400.
Ooh, wow.
Have you ever seen one of your guitars out in the wild?
Yes. I would say the most, I was in Jason Aldean's bar a couple weeks ago. There's a radio station in there. One of the guitars was there. I was in Eastland, Texas at a local Mexican restaurant, and I walked in, and it was Will Green had a charity for some fires that happened out there. And I text Will. I was like, dude, one of my guitars is in this Mexican restaurant. He goes, oh, yeah, I forgot that was there. And so
that's great.
I get messages all the time from friends or my mom, like, hey, is this your guitar?
Yeah, that's cool.
And so over the last decade, I'd have to run math, but we've probably shipped out 40 or 50,000 guitars. This year we'll do probably around 15,000.
I think we need one in the studio.
I was going to say,
you?
I was going to ask you, Scott. We probably need to have you do one for us.
I'll make that happen.
Yeah, we would love to have that. Yeah, it's cool that you have a business that's making you money, but also that's fun and you're passionate about.
And you're keeping it local.
Yeah, well, yeah. And you know, a lot of people, they have good jobs and they make good money, but they're not real happy doing it. Yeah, I can tell you're really enjoying it.
I love what I do. I am blessed because of the people around me in my business. Yeah. From the Nashville side, where I can make a phone call and get connected to someone, to Michael Sanders, who's a local musician, or I have a high school kid that just graduated from Dripping. He's going off to Texas State, and I'm like, it's not that far to come to work still. Yeah. But like, I get it. Rick Lewis, another local musician who's a bus driver in town, like, he would drive the bus, and instead of driving home, which was kind of far out of town, he'd come work for 4 hours and then go drive the bus again. Like, I have been so blessed with the people around me that have been supportive, have helped me. And I mean, from Cameron Cox offered me a warehouse when supply chain got tight and I needed some storage ASAP. So it's
and the world's a cool place because you're going to open up some doors for some people in the future, and probably already have, and then that pays you back too, where you feel you help somebody else get a foot up.
I've been told I'm a people connector, but I also, we mentioned earlier about guitars and how they can help people. I got a call from Cody Johnson's people. Hey, we want to donate a guitar to Make-A-Wish, and I get a letter. That guitar, which it's a couple $100 guitar, to be honest.
Yeah.
Sold for $80,000 Make-A-Wish.
You're kidding.
And I called the Make-A-Wish people. They sent me a letter with all this information. I sent to Cody's, but I called the Make-A-Wish person. I was like, hey, tell me about, what y'all are trying to do here. I see this Kojo guitar. And I connected her with a girl that works for BMI, which is a royalty collection. Mm-hmm. There's a girl that works there, a lady that works there. She was a Make-A-Wish recipient. She's doing well, but she's on the board there. And basically they were trying to get this kid in touch. So basically I said, hey, can you help? She's like, I will absolutely help. Aww. And so she's like, I'm going to get them connected to this person. I'll get this person to sign it. Like, that's what life's about.
Yeah, it is.
We're all on this earth trying to figure out our own life. Everybody has struggles. Yep. Everybody has challenges. 2020 didn't just suck for the graphic guitar
No,
guys. It sucked for everybody.
And sometimes even just the smallest thing you do for somebody can make a huge difference in their life. I think we forget about that sometimes, just the littlest thing you do, just like an email introduction or, something that just totally changes the course of somebody's life. So, Scott, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad that you came in today and spent this time with us. I learned a lot about, when Michelle told me about it, I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. But the more we've talked about it, the more I really think it's very cool what you're doing.
Well, back at y'all, I love that you are featuring local businesses, but it's talking more about the person and who they are and how they relate to the community. Yep. There's Cameron there.
I was going to say.
And so I'm blessed to be in this community. I never thought I'd end up 400 yards from my in-laws' house in my wife's hometown. But it's a great town to be. Yeah. And even though it has grown and it has changed and that shows its own challenges, the families in this community, from who my kids going to play with or vice versa, like everybody's looking out for everybody. Yep. Everybody's trying to help out however they can help out. And I think as long as we continue to do that, life's good.
Yeah, and that's why we started the show, because when you know your neighbors, you're going to be a lot more polite to them and take care of them a lot
Unless you're driving in the slow lane in the left lane.
Well, there's mostly just 2 lanes in Dripping still, so we're good.
That's right.
Move out of the way. Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you and I have a lot of mutual friends, and I'm surprised we probably have crossed paths and met
and not remember it.
That's because of the libations.
We were having a good time.
Libations unite.
We were working.
Exactly.
Well, thanks for coming in, Scott.
Thank you for having me.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs, because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set-it-and-forget-it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready. Elevate your living experience with M. Elliott Studio, your trusted partner in interior design, registered and licensed by the state of Texas.
You want your home to reflect your personal style and identity. Investing in a well-crafted design doesn't just beautify your home, it enriches your life.
Team principal and owner, Montana Elliott, understands the profound impact of a thoughtfully designed space. From remodeling to full design, M. Elliott Studio is the first step to unlocking your style.
Turn your aspirations into reality. Tailored to your taste and desires, M. Elliott Studio will work to create an environment that embraces your style with style.
Your space, their expertise.
melliotstudio.com 512-781-0224.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.